Hello and welcome to FHP. So we will start. We have a Liverpool fan here. We have a Chelsea fan here. So we will dive straight into the action from the weekend. See what I did there?
Oh my
We'll
god.
talk about the Chelsea Liverpool game, which is the start of the Premier League weekend on Saturday afternoon. Um, Either one of you want to start us off with this?
Andreas can go first.
Shall I start? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, um, like right now, I feel like both teams just need to be happy that this is not a match for getting relegated. And that's honestly how it feels like right now. That you should just be happy about that. And it's kind of crazy when you think about the last couple of seasons. It has been Liverpool, City really fighting, Chelsea right behind, Spurs kind of there but not really, and then Arsenal and United doing pretty bad. And now it's just the complete different story. It's Arsenal doing really, really good, United up there, City is still City, Spurs is still kind of all over the place, but Liverpool and Chelsea is just not working. And yeah, I think this result, this match symbolizes that pretty well. Not necessarily bad teams, but just very close to each other and not really able to get the most out of anything at the moment. I feel like both teams still has a lot of chances to get up there and really fight with the upcoming matches. But this match, it doesn't really tell anything different. It's two teams that's kind of on the same level, not where they used to be, and they need to get up there once again. And yeah, you can say good for both teams defensively that they are not conceding any goals, but I think it's also just more the teams not being able to score. Even though I feel like there was a good amount of chances, it was just not enough for the teams to be clinical enough to score goals. So yeah, I feel like that's the story, and it's difficult because, like, on one hand I'm happy about this result. Like, it's Liverpool. Like, historically this is a big match, and the fact that we can go out and right now where it's going so bad that we can go out and get a draw against Liverpool, that's really, really good. But on the other hand, it being, I don't know what we are anymore. I think 10th still, or maybe below that, or even a little bit ahead. It doesn't matter. It's still a team that's not working right now. So it doesn't matter if we're talking Liverpool or if we're talking City. We need to win our matches. And then the fact that it's also a Liverpool team that's not doing the best either right now just shows that because we got a draw doesn't mean that we're doing great. It just means that it's two teams that's struggling right now. And yeah, that sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't really much to say in terms of overall gameplay. Both teams started and ended in the same place over the
Mhm.
weekend, so it didn't really matter. The game was like it balanced it equaled each other out. Where I'm
Mm.
concerned, I'll take a point any day over not getting a point.
Mm.
So people called this game a mid-table derby or mid-table battle, and it was boring. I don't think the game was boring. I think the game was okay. It wasn't spectacular, but not every game has to be that. At this point, I think Chelsea and Liverpool both need to go out and win all the remaining games. So for us to face each other, I actually I felt it was going to draw in because most of our previous meetings were Chelsea ended in the draw where it was 2-2, 1-1. So this ending in a draw didn't surprise me, but what surprised me was the fact that there was no goals. It was a 0-0 goal, goalless draw, and that says a lot about where both teams are at the moment in the league, and both teams have stuff to work on and to grow from and to build both in this rebuilding stage where both teams are suffering from injuries. Both teams have have new people coming in, Chelsea more than Liverpool, obviously. And both teams needs time. Both teams are just in a flux right now where it's this uncertainty when you watch them play. I don't know if Andreas feels the same way, but for me, it's like I don't even want to watch our games because I feel anxious. It's just this level of, I think some of the commentators said during the game, there's this level of nervousness because you just know that one goal is going to, tip the scales. And um, Havertz scored at the beginning, it was offside, and then clearly there was chances. Nunes came in, there was chances. The new guy from Chelsea, he was just amazing to watch. He's gonna be really somebody to look out for. But yeah, it was his first game, so we understand. But it did well. So I think both teams should be happy that there was a point that wasn't 3 points lost. And so he didn't lose anything. He just gained a point. So I feel like both teams now need to go out and win most of the games that they can to ensure that they get up top there in the European spaces. I think Chelsea's going to have a harder time against Fulham than Liverpool is going to have against Wolves. So over the next game week, but there's this break now. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I very much agree with that, and I think also like if this had happened last season or a season before that, no one would be like, oh, okay, this is bad. Like this is a fine whistle for both teams. It's because we are in a situation right now where both teams are not doing well against the other teams. But this vessel alone is not bad for any of the teams. Yeah, sure, I completely agree, Warren, that maybe you could go like, okay, they are not scoring goals, and that would have been expected last season. But on the other hand, you could also be like, okay, it's great that both teams are not conceding any goals. So yeah, I very much agree. Like this is just two teams that's not working right now, but this result alone is good for both teams. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I think just because of the place of both teams, that it's a bit of a kind of a nothing result for both teams. Yeah, sure, neither team lost the game. So it's not like not like they've lost 3 points or anything, but still, it was a big chance for one of the teams to kind of get a big 3 points to try and get into a European spot. But it feels like both teams are in the same place right now. I kind of expected it, to be honest. I did predict this would be a 0-0 draw. I just thought I can't see either team really taking the initiative here. I can't see either team really doing anything special, and that was the kind of thing. I know Mudryk kind of got off to a good start with he seemed to be very fast. He's got the highest speed recorded in the Premier League this season, I believe. But like neither team really had anything special. Neither team could break down the other. It was just much of a muchness. Andreas, what was your kind of thought on the Chelsea lineup and the way they lined up?
I need that again. I don't remember. I'm getting old, guys. I don't remember formations that way that I used to. So do you have it, Harry, or anything?
Yeah, I'm getting it here.
Okay. I was at a birthday party, so I watched as much as I could.
It was 3-4-2-1. Arrizabalaga, Kepa in goal. Badashila, Thiago, and Trevor Chalobah as the back three. Cucurella, Lewis Hall, Jorginho, and Ziyech as the four across midfield. And then Mount and Gallagher behind Kai Havertz.
Okay. And then Mudryk came in later.
Yeah, he was on the bench.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Like I've told in the past that I'm not a fan of the three in the back thing. I don't think it works. But I appreciate that Potter's trying stuff. Is it working? No. But I appreciate that he's not so decided on one idea that he's willing to try other stuff. The problem just is that it's not working. Like you can look at this formation, and if Chelsea had won, everyone would be like, wow, this is amazing. If we had lost, everyone would be like, wow, this is terrible. But when it's just a draw and it's 0-0, that's the thing, like where you can have the most crazy formation, but if you're winning your matches, no one is going to blame that formation or talking bad about it. And that's the thing with formations, that you can have your opinions on it, but at the end of the day, it's the results that really speak the truth about formations being good or bad. And I think there's not really a lot to take out of this formation in a 0-0 draw. It works defensively, clearly. The question is, how much is that because of it working, and how much is that because of Liverpool also being inconsistent right now? And you can look at the other way and say, we don't score any goals, so is it really working offensively? You can also say, is it because Liverpool are good defensively? Like there's a lot of other things to take away from it. But in general, I'm not a fan of three in the back. I do like Mount and Gallagher being that up right behind the Havertz. I think that sounds pretty cool. But yeah, I'm not against seeing this again. But as of right now, it clearly does not work. I think maybe if Mudryk had been in one of the sides from the beginning, that could be interesting. Or when Felix is back, maybe he could be instead of Havertz. So I can definitely see some stuff. But I also, from what you're saying, I don't feel like it's the strongest lineup either. So yeah, but
Ziyech's right wing back is just completely bonkers to me. Like when you have Aspilicueta on the bench, why the hell have you got Ziyech as right wing back? Trevor Chalobah is not a centre back. I don't think. What position does he usually play?
I think he
okay,
is.
He is a centre back. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, my bad.
But nothing against Chalobah. I think Chalobah can be good, but Chalobah should not be starting in a match against Liverpool. He should not. At like, you're in trouble when Chalobah needs to start. Nothing against him. He's a fine player, but you are in a problem when you need to start him. And I think that's also kind of what we see with both teams in this. That it's not quite the top 11 that really work right now. But yeah, I think Mudryk from the beginning could have been really interesting. I get that he needed to come in later. Again, when Felix is back, him instead of Havertz, maybe. Havertz, I don't really feel like it's working. It worked for one match with that attacking situation, and now it's just not working anymore. Maybe you could switch Havertz down along with Mount, and then you could have Felix on top. Gallagher maybe in central midfield. I think I'm not against the idea of this. I feel like there's a lot of options, but clearly when you only have three in the back, it's not good when you have Ziyech on the side, because Ziyech is an amazing player, but you need to have one that's more defensively strong when you only have three in the back. So yeah, having Ziyech there, I completely agree that sounds really, really weird, because he is not good when it comes to the defensive part. So yeah, but I'm not against seeing it again, and with a few changes, maybe this could be the way forward. I need to see more to really be sure about that.
Yeah. Warren, what was your thoughts on the Liverpool lineup? There was some interesting changes made. James Milner was right back. Matip came out and Joe Gomez was in. You had Bajcetic in the middle of the field.
Yeah,
a bit of a strange one. No Darwin Núñez. It was just, it looked like it was all over the place.
I wouldn't call it strange at all. I would take it. They took away what happened in the previous game against Wolves when we played the replay, and Klopp obviously felt the Brighton loss was the most embarrassing loss that they've seen in a while. And he said in his pre-match statement that he's going to change up the lineup, and he took away the win from Wolves and he started most of those players. that played in the FA Cup replay. And Nunes just came back from injury, so I understood why he was on the bench. We didn't change the formation; the formation was still the same. Milner did great against Wolves, so I don't see why he wouldn't start. He did great against Chelsea as well. And I believe that Klopp wanted to make a statement because obviously the most seasoned players didn't do well against Brighton, and I think that's the route they went, and it worked out in a way. Stefan was amazing against Wolves. He was amazing against Aston Villa as well in that one Premier League game. So he deserves his starting point. So I actually didn't mind the lineup, depending like if you look at the injuries and everything that we've got. I didn't mind it. I didn't think it was strange. I actually liked it. With a few people, I wouldn't put Gomez in my team at all. I would put Trent in over Gomez. I would put Robertson in, but he did play. But yeah, so I didn't find it strange at all. I think it was smart to put on the youngsters first, and then bring on the more seasoned players in the second half just to control the game. So in a way, it did work out. So we didn't lead goals, we didn't score goals, but it didn't hurt us. So I didn't mind it.
Yeah, fair enough. We will move on. One of the stranger results of the weekend, I think, was Leicester 2, Brighton 2, given the form that Brighton had been in, that they dropped 2 points was huge. I don't think many of us would have expected this, given the form that Leicester are in as well, that they've been struggling. But it's good to see a bit of fight from Leicester as such. Warren?
Yes. Leicester did come back and pull the game back into their favor. Brighton started strong, but from the beginning you could see that the defense that Leicester put up was going to hamper the Brighton attack quite largely, and they had to figure out certain ways to break down Leicester. But they didn't. Leicester wasn't poor, so I was actually more surprised that Brighton couldn't penetrate that defense. So Leicester did up their game defensively. They did leak goals, but they did pull back two goals also to level it up. Madison came in, so he's back from injury. So I think Leicester might just be building up again. So they're not in the relegation zone yet again, but with Madison back, definitely they got the reinforcements now. I think he should have brought Madison on a bit sooner than he did. 80th minute is a bit too late to wait to bring Madison on. I would have brought him on sooner, second off immediately, just get your noses in front of the game. But, Matoma was great for Brighton. They've got both teams picked up injuries as well. Lallana went off quite early. So, yeah, it was a strange game to watch. So, yeah, I think the draw was fine.
Andreas?
Yeah, I think just looking at it ending 2-2, I think is a shock to a lot of people, including me. But I don't think it's something you need to look that much into. Like I feel like this doesn't change Brighton being a great team. They just had a little bit of an off day, and Leicester just went, we need to score some goals here. And I've said it before, like I feel like Leicester is going the right direction, and I feel like when Leicester is doing good, Leicester can really be a threat. Like we saw it before the World Cup break, that they really started doing really, really well. And then the break ended and we started again in Premier League and it went down. But we have already seen this season what they can do when they actually work. And I think that's what we see here. Maddison being back now, huge boost for them. Maddison is one of those players for Leicester that like what he does on the pitch is of course really, really important. But just him being there, just the team knowing that he is going to be there, means a lot to the team. And I think that's what we see here, that him being back is means so much to them and give them the confidence that they can really do something and survive. So yeah, I think this is just Leicester doing really, really well. And Brighton maybe have a little bit of an off day. And Brighton is not, like when it comes to the squad, they are not on the level of City, for example, or Arsenal. They don't have this huge squad. So sometimes they will have off days where they are not performing at their best. And that's completely natural. And them even being able to end up having it as a draw, I think is pretty good by Brighton. and shows that they are a strong team. So yeah, just really good by Leicester, and Brighton having a little bit of an off day, but I'm not worried at all for Brighton.
Yeah. Leicester, Maddison coming back is huge for them now, and it's a huge boost to them kind of now in the final, to avoid relegation. If he can stay fit, then they have a very, very good chance, you would think, of surviving. And I think this is probably the start of that. You can see that happening there. So that's probably huge for them going forward, which is only good. Evan Ferguson is turning into a little star, really, for Brighton. He's been one of the breakout stars this season for Brighton, I feel like. Yeah, so we will move on. Southampton 0, Aston Villa 1. This was something Warren predicted on the podcast last week on Friday. Warren, might as well talk us through it.
I didn't really I didn't watch the match. To be honest, I didn't watch the match. Watch the highlights. It was kind of like it was a weird game because I know there was goals disallowed. James Ward-Prowse, there was like 2 goals disallowed from him. But it wasn't the Aston Villa that we were used to seeing this last couple of games. So I kind of like when I was I'm on the FPL app while the games are on, and I'm refreshing and I'm checking. Oh crap! It's still 0-0. It's still 0-0. And I'm thinking about my prediction. I'm like, please, dear God, Aston Villa just score. That's the only thing that I was caring about. But honestly, Alex Merino, he's got to start. He did well for Aston Villa. I think he earned his place now. I think he's going with Digne out. I said he's going to be a feature now, and that's a great signing for them. They got the win. So like Emery is doing something, obviously doing something right with the team. His influence over the team, the way that he manages them, is coaching them, is really paying off. Southampton was a little bit of a high after the Manchester United win, Manchester City win, and going into the Carabao semi-final. So I mean they were on a little bit of a roll. So one would have expected them to come in with more of a fight, and they did. Pity for them, the goal got disallowed. Would have ended it in a 1-1. So yeah, it was a closely contested game, and the Aston Villa goal came close to the end of the match. So I think Villa got a bit lucky, but at the end of the day, I mean, 3 points again, and they're flying. So in the grand scheme of things, they are climbing. They're on the same points as Liverpool, Chelsea, and I think the 7th Brentford or something. Yeah, we're all on the same by the points right now. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The Villa revolution has been great since Emery came in, and he's really changed things. Andreas, quick thoughts?
Yeah, I already said it when he joined that I thought that would be great for them. And wow, what a manager they got, and signing in Moreno. It's really going well, and it's crazy when you think about them being on the same level as Everton kind of was, where we were talking about getting relegated and all of this kind of stuff. And now he's there, and it's going really, really well for Villa. Quickly before I give the word to Warren, I think Villa is doing really, really well, but I don't know if I feel like winning 1-0 against Southampton is that great. And as Warren said, it's not kind of the team that we have seen for a while now. But I've said it before that I expect more from Villa, and maybe too much. But yeah, I don't know quite where I feel like Villa could do better than this. But yeah, it's a win, and Villa is still going really, really well. And quickly with Southampton, that's also a team that has not been that bad the last couple of games.
Yeah,
Southampton is a team that I strongly believe will get relegated and be last place. But the last couple of games has actually been kind of good for them. So yeah, maybe this is a pretty fair result.
I just want to add one thing before we move on. This game also came in the light of Danny Ings moving to West Ham. So this was kind of like a shock to Aston Villa. They lose because he's a scorer for them. So they lost him, but Watkins was in doubt as well. So Watkins getting that start was kind of like, a good thing for them because he scored the goal. And I would say that if I was Villa and I lost points to Southampton, I would feel a bit done in, if that makes sense, because they're at the bottom. So I think this win was good for Villa because it doesn't hybrid, it doesn't stop the momentum. They're still going on a winning little run now, and these are the games that they need to win because they're gonna face tougher opponents down the road again. So for the second, the
Yeah.
the rematches that they have to
Yeah.
play, obviously, you guys that's what I mean. So yeah, so I think this win was great because these are these small games, and I'm taking nothing away from Southampton, but these are the games that you need to win, and this is a game that Southampton needed to win, but they didn't, and Villa got the point, so it's a good thing for them.
Yeah, and of course James Ward-Prowse did have a couple of goals ruled out as well. It seems like there was some chaos with a drone
Yeah,
that was flying overhead.
And what?
the drone.
Drone.
Okay.
And apparently the protocol is that players are supposed to leave the field in that case for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure why, but yeah. Yeah, Villa did have a lot of the possession. They had 64%. They had 16 shots on target. They really kind of dominated, it seems. Like you would expect that, I think. I think I was a bit more. I think if this game was a few weeks ago, I would have expected Villa to win. But the fact that Southampton have kind of been on a bit of a run lately, I did kind of feel like maybe they could get something out of this. But yeah, Villa's completely dominated that. And there was a huge battle then down the bottom of the table with West Ham beating Everton 2-0, which saw the end of Frank Lampard at Everton. We won't go into a whole lot of detail on Frank Lampard because I know that we're planning on talking about detail on Friday's podcast. Quick thoughts on the match, Warren?
Yeah, this match kind of saw the rebirth of Jared Bowen, if you will. So I don't know the signings of Ings and Dawson going to Wolves now. It was kind of like this in the middle of this whole transfer month happening. So it's crazy how these teams are adapting to the new settings and setups. But West Ham is a team that everybody kind of like just push to the wayside because they're just doing poorly this season. They're worse than Chelsea, Liverpool, and all these other teams are struggling. But they're just been in this constant dark cloud around them. And Everton, they kind of have been in the same WhatsApp group. And West Ham getting 2 goals over Everton because Everton is praised on their defense. Pickford is a great goalkeeper, and they've got Cody, and they've got Mikalenko, and they've got all these great defense because they're not known for their strikers, and Iwobi was back, so I kind of thought it was going to be more of a little a closely contested match. So West Ham getting those 2 goals. Jared Bowen is back to scoring. He's got a brace. So West Ham is now kind of like in the middle of the season where they kind of try and climb their way out of the bottom, which they can do. They can do it if they really put their mind to it. So that was a great win for them. And sadly for Everton, this meant that this was like the 8th loss in a row for them in the league. And so I'm not surprised to see what happened. People were kind of actually calling for this earlier on, but a lot of people placed the blame on the board and not so much on the manager. But we'll get into that on Friday. But I'm just stating that I don't really think it was his fault that they lost because I mean the team was. It seems every manager that comes in there, they can't really shape this team into like a team because you need the board to back you in getting those players, and if you don't have that, it's kind of like you like little handcuffs, and you can't really do anything. So you have to work with the team that you've got. But yeah, but I've been saying Anthony Gordon, where is he? Where's Mopay? Where is Gray scoring goals, but it's scoring 1 goal. It's one hit wonders every time he scores. It's just like a brace or a hat trick. And they kind of need that striker, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, in and out of fitness. So they're really lacking the attack, I feel, with Everton. So the defense is great, but not that great because they're still leaking goals and they're losing points. So yeah, great win for West Ham. And this was a match where It was basically the battle of the managers, because people said had West Ham lost, David Moyes would have been sacked as well. So this was a great boost for him. So he needs to now just make sure that his team keeps winning, because I don't think he's out of the firing line yet.
Yeah, Andreas.
Yeah, this is just such a sad match in every aspect, because we talk about West Ham and Everton, two of the absolute top teams in English football history, and now they are fighting for not getting relegated, and the managers are literally fighting for their lives as a manager, and it's just such a sad story, and the sad thing with all of this, because I sadly have been talked a lot about, I feel like Lampard needed to get sacked, and I still think it's still sad, but I think this is the right solution for real. I really think it is. But no matter what, I still don't feel like West Ham is surviving this. Like, for me, this isn't West Ham showing that they're great. For me, this is Everton showing how bad it's going right now. If West Ham can go out and win the next couple of matches, it will be a different story.
I agree.
But for right now, I don't feel like West Ham really want this. I just feel like Everton completely lost it. And if I'm not mistaken, Everton has lost 4 out of their 5 last matches, and the one that they didn't lose was a draw. Sure, it was against City, but it's still a draw. So no wins in 5 games and 4 losses. So yeah, I think that says everything about Everton. And again, it for me shows that no matter how much I hate it, I don't feel like West Ham is going the right direction yet. For me, this is just them being lucky because Everton is bad, at least for right now. So yeah, it's just such a sad match, to be honest.
Everton actually dominated possession. They had 68% possession. They had 729 passes compared to West Ham 346. So they dominated this game and still lost 2-0. Shows how bad things are at the moment. We will talk more on Friday about Everton and what the future looks like. Frank Lampard a bit more on Friday. But yeah, look, it's bad. Jared Bowen, though, it's good to see his kind of return. It's been a while. He did start off really well at the start of the season or end of last season or something. He was really good for a while, and then he just dropped off for a bit, and now he's come back out of nowhere. Warren, quick thoughts?
Yeah. At the end of last season, even in FPL, Bowen was the go-to guy. He was massive points because if you bagging in the goals left, right, and center. And then the season started, and it was kind of like he had this little dip, and he couldn't get any, got a goal in here and there, but it wasn't like, the consistent guy, and a lot of people didn't flock to him. And I think now that his partner is pregnant, expecting twins, I think maybe that's the fire that is, because he put the ball. And I went and actually read up, and I saw that yes, they are expecting twins. So maybe this is now, the fire in the belly, literally, to get him moving again. But like I agree with Andreas, it's going to be what West Ham does now going forward for me, to determine they need to capitalize on this momentum now.
Another kind of maybe a shock result is Bournemouth 1-1 with Nottingham Forest. Forest have been on a good run lately. They've kind of been picking up a couple of victories against sides near the bottom. I think, yeah, they've been doing that. They've been doing really well. Bournemouth have been in a real bad place. Really struggling, not really getting any results. So this is a big result for them even to just get a point. Forest kind of obviously 2-point dropped, I feel like, considering how well Bournemouth have been playing. I think they're still in a good position in the table, but still a little bit worrying that they couldn't get a win here. Andreas?
Yeah, I think this is this is an interesting match because, as you said, Nottingham has been doing really, really well lately. Bournemouth has not at all. But also Bournemouth has, exactly like with Leicester, when Bournemouth was doing great, they really showed how great they can be earlier in this season. And then the break happened. So I still feel like Bournemouth has stuff to prove. and I still feel like they can be a good team. And I feel like if I look at it besides right now, but just in general, I feel like Bournemouth probably has more potential than Nottingham. Not with the squad, because Nottingham's squad is very, very big, but I feel like I in general trust Bournemouth going the right direction more than I trust Nottingham. Because Nottingham has been very hit and miss for me, where I feel like Bournemouth, when they were doing great, they were doing really great. So in some ways this doesn't surprise me, but looking at it from the last couple of games, Nottingham has been much better than Bournemouth. And I think I said after the break that what I feel like Nottingham really needed was for these players to now get time to really start working together, because Nottingham has a very, very big squad with a lot of big signings. But they were just all so new to each other that they needed time to really make it work. And I feel like Nottingham finally got that, and I feel like they still have it. But yeah, I don't think Bournemouth is necessarily a team you should underestimate. And maybe this can be the beginning of them winning some more matches and getting back up there once again. So yeah, I think this is a fair result. And I don't think necessarily Nottingham has to be disappointed with this. But clearly they need to go out and win some matches. So yeah.
Yeah. Warren?
Yeah. Actually, Nottingham got a goal in front at the beginning of the game, like early on, 30th minute. But it got overturned. Ryan Yates scored a goal. VAR intervened, overturned the goal, and then in the first half, Bournemouth got a goal in. Jayden Anthony scored, and then close to the end of the match, Forest came back with I think it was Surridge that's got the goal in. I think that's his name. He came from the bench and scored. Sam Surridge.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so a fair result. I don't think Nottingham, this result is going to deter Nottingham, because this result actually is just boosting them a little bit because they didn't lose a point. But this is the same situation like with Chelsea, Liverpool. They're like in the same little boat, and the same with Bournemouth. They did well for a couple of weeks, and then the manager came in. And they kept losing. So the takeaway from this game for me is both teams got a point. They didn't lose. So just build on the momentum. Bournemouth has the quality in their team that they need to just score more goals. The same with Forest. But I'd always say Forest struggles without Henderson. I always say it, and it's always the case. Wayne Hennessy is a great goalkeeper. He makes a lot of great saves, but Henderson is that key figure for me. He's that one player that they need. But they need to put him in the little box, cotton mill, make sure that nothing happens to him, put him away. When he's done on the pitch, put him away somewhere. Nothing needs to happen. He shouldn't go out. So I think with him going to be out for a little bit, he's going to be out till I think in February. That's going to be a test for Forest. So they need these little points now. And I mean, getting a point against Bournemouth is better than losing against them, I feel. And Bournemouth should feel great because they didn't lose 3 points; they got a point. So, and Forest has not been the easiest fixture to go to. So, I think it's a fair result.
Yeah, Forest do have a 4-point cushion on the relegation zone, but they have faced a lot of teams recently who are in the bottom, so they are going to have to face a lot of the top teams coming up, and you do worry for them. But these are the games they need to be winning if they're going to survive. They did bring in Chris Wood. He did play, didn't really seem to have a big impact though. How big of an impact do we feel he can have? I know you talked about it briefly on Friday, Warren, but how much of an impact do you think Chris Wood can have on that team?
Yeah, I think he needs time, and it's a new player. He's not new to the Premier League, but it's a new team, and he's going into a team that has so many new players, like Andrea said at the beginning. It's a big squad, and you're not even sure that you're going to start. And Richard and I were discussing this on Friday, I basically said that you've got Emmanuel Dennis that came from Watford that also was in the Premier League, and he doesn't get starts a lot. So you're not sure as a new player coming in that you're going to be able to implement that change if you don't get the time on the pitch. So for Chris Wood, I think for him, this game was, let me show the manager what I can do, and hopefully he gets a regular start, and with time he can improve um, with the strike, the attack going forward, especially with the Nigerian that's out injured, the top goal scorer. So that's so he's going to have to cement his place in the team very quickly. There's going to be no off time for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
We will move on. Yeah, just looking at the stats here. Forest had 20 shots on target
Wow.
compared to 20 shots in total in the match compared to Bournemouth
Oh my
16.
God, 20 shots on target.
5 shots on target compared to 4, 58% possession. It looks like it was fairly even. I think it seemed, from the stats, it seems like a draw was a fair result, really, there. Um, yeah, so we will move on to the next game if it will ever load for me. Okay, Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle 0. Suddenly, Manchester United's goal draw with them midweek doesn't look too bad. Palace are becoming a really tough side to face at home with big teams, and it's hard for them to break them down. Whatever reason, and United could have easily escaped with a 1-0 win if it wasn't for that free kick last week. So Newcastle, with the talent Newcastle have, you'd expect them to be able to break a side like this down. With the creativeness they have the likes of Almiron and Joe Linton, Guimaraes. With the players like that, they should be able to break down a Palace side like this. But maybe I think those players aren't kind of suited to a dirty game where likes of Palace will stick in and sit back and make it difficult for them. Warren?
Yeah, I'm kind of getting concerned about Newcastle, to be honest with you. Just a little bit, not too much, but a little bit, because the last couple of games they haven't really been attacking. They have been attacking, but they can't get over the line. I feel couple of draws, and they got a lucky goal with Isaac in the previous match. So and Crystal Palace, like you said, is a hard team to face. I mean, they drew against Liverpool. They drew against United. They drew against Newcastle. So the top teams are struggling against Palace, in my opinion. However, yeah, so they're keeping the clean sheet intact. So the defense is still great. So I feel like now they need to just hone in on the attack. They need to sharpen that. Callum Wilson needs to get on the ball and shoot them in. Almiron has dried up a bit in the midfield as well. He's not scoring those goals. He's not bagging them in like he used to. Trippier defensively is great, but he's getting a lot of yellows now, so he's close to like the suspension is probably going to get lifted now in the next game, so that doesn't matter. But yeah, so defensively, Newcastle is playing great. I just think they need to sharpen the attack now because I think they've been getting a bit more comfortable now because a lot of teams can't score against them, but that doesn't mean that they mustn't go on the attack more aggressively. And with Palace, they are a team known to be the team struggle again, so getting a point for them isn't bad. It's kind of like second nature for them, I feel. So as long as you don't lose to them, I think you should still feel okay.
Yeah. Andreas?
Yeah, I think with Newcastle, it's kind of the same story as with Brighton, where it's like we have these teams that they can't be great all the season. Like there will be matches where it's not quite working. The key difference here just is that Newcastle has a much stronger team than Brighton does in terms of the players and how much they're worth. So Newcastle should not really fail in these situations. And I agree with what Warren is saying that I'm getting a little bit worried as well. Not much. Newcastle is still a great team, but I'm getting a little bit worried. And to me, it seems like the matches where they drew and or lose is against teams where you did not expect that to happen at all. Where when it comes to the big teams, I feel like they're doing pretty well. But in these matches against smaller teams like Palace, it's not quite working. And I feel like we have seen that a few times now with Newcastle, especially with draws. So yeah, that is interesting and a little bit worrying factor with Newcastle. It seems like they really step up their game when they are facing the big teams. So yeah, that's a little bit of a thing. But Newcastle is still a great team. And yeah, and I think with Palace, it seems like after their loss to Spurs and after their loss to us, they really stepped up the game, Palace, and got a draw with United and now with Newcastle. So it seems like they really learned from losing 4-0 to Spurs and losing 1-0 to us. And yeah, really are using that now and getting some draws with the big teams. And they are pretty okay in the table right now. So these draws are fine enough for them. Had they been in the bottom three, I would be like, this is not good enough. But yeah, right now they are kind of solid and yeah, really good for Palace. I feel like if you had to look at a winner and a loser in this, I feel like Palace is the winner in this. Getting a draw with Newcastle is really some momentum boost for you. So yeah, really good for them. And again, Newcastle, a little bit worried, but Newcastle is still a great team. And the fact that you can even be kind of disappointed in Newcastle going out and getting a draw against Palace in Palace, that just says how great Newcastle are, that you can even allow yourself to be disappointed by such a great result that it actually is. So yeah.
I think one thing to say. The reason why I'm very concerned is because at the top with Newcastle, Man United, Man City, and Arsenal, those four, right? Especially with Man United and Newcastle, that's so close to each other. It shouldn't be dropping points, especially if you with Spurs now also now like a little mini run now again. So and you've got Fulham and Brighton right behind you. So there's you shouldn't be dropping points. So for me, Newcastle getting draws a lot now is a bit worrisome. That's just I just want to put a little bit of emphasis on this. They're still doing great, but I feel like they need to sharpen the attack because they need to get wins now because to get them further up because it's so close at the top with Arsenal, City, Newcastle, Man United now because it's like it's a ping pong now. Then Newcastle is third, then they're fourth. It's like they're switching sides with United the whole time. So they need to further them from that. And same with Man United. So picking up those points are crucial. So getting draws isn't ideal for the teams at the top right now. If you like in a place with Crystal Palace, that's fine because you need those points. So that's just what I was angling towards when I said I'm worried about him dropping points.
Yeah, I think also with that it's really interesting if you look at the stats. In the last 5 games, Newcastle has gotten 3 draws. The other 2 they won, so they are doing pretty well in Premier League, but 3 draws, and they have only scored 4 goals in those 5 matches. Another stat then is that they have not conceded any goals in those 5 matches. So that's pretty good. So again, like we can't talk about them being bad or anything like that. But it is, as Ron said, very interesting that like 3 matches out of the last 5 is a draw, and only 4 goals in 5 games. I think that is a little bit concerning, but again, still a really great team.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and Almiron is kind of struggling at the moment as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for every go ahead.
Just to say, kind of looking at their results, they beat Fulham 1-0 last week. They beat Leicester 2-0 in the quarterfinals of the League Cup. They lost 2-1 to Sheffield Wednesday. Then they drew 0-0 against Arsenal. Drew 0-0 against Leeds. Beat Leicester 3-0. So it's not been too bad. A couple of draws though that they would rather not have. and obviously being knocked out by Sheffield Wednesday, not ideal either. Just to say that Newcastle, they dominated this game, it seems. They had most of the possession. Palace had one shot on target the whole game, whereas Newcastle had like 7. So I think they just need to convert that into goals and get there. But it says a lot about Palace. I feel like Palace, they're a really good side and difficult to beat at home because they're defensively they're really good, but they're just lacking in attack. I feel like there's just nothing there. Like Zaha just isn't doing anything. It's just like your defense is good, but it's not going to get you anywhere. You need to be able to score goals as well and be able to score, and that's going to win you matches. Goals win matches at the end of the day. And you need to be winning matches if you want to be in the top half of the table. We'll move on. City 3-0 against Wolves. Haaland's back, baby. Did we? I don't think you can ever really write Haaland off. He can have a blank spell for 2 or 3 games, and he'll come back and he got a hat trick. He's just class, isn't he? Really. And I think that's the big thing you can say. I still think that there's a few holes in that City team at the moment. I still think that Haaland and City, they need to have a better relationship, I feel like, because I think like the style of play, like I've said before, doesn't necessarily suit Haaland because he's more of a smash and grab type of player, and he's more of a poacher rather than a player that's gonna fit into Pep's kind of system. So it's kind of a strange one to see that. Kind of strange that the kind of marriage between them, but it seems to work. It has worked for large periods, but then in some games it hasn't. Because but look, he's back. He's scoring goals, which is what City want. You can't really say much more than that. You have to give him credit where credit is due. Warren?
Yes. It's City. And Wolves. And what's weird was it's the same goal scoreline that it was in the reverse fixture. So exactly the same scoreline. So I expected more goals, but I mean 3-0 was quite nice, especially with the kind of the run that City was on lately. This was also like a rejuvenation. I think the Spurs game and now this one was the injection that City needed to prove to people like we're not out of it yet, we're still here. And they closed the gap with Arsenal. So Kevin De Bruyne is back in the assists. He was kind of like going through a little dry spell as well. Haaland being back. Rico Lewis is doing great in defense. So the City squad looks different, but they still got that, that power. They've got that oomph about them. And yes, it is against Wolves. So, I mean, you could argue, Wolves, but they won 4-2 against Spurs the other day. So, I mean, the argument goes either way. So, the main point is that Haaland is still there. He's still a threat. I think he's going to be forever a threat. He's 25 goals in the Premier League alone. And he surpassed the number of goals that the Golden Boot winners of last season got. And it's not even half the season yet. So I can see Haaland getting 50, 60 goals by the end of the season. So it's scary to think about it, but that man is a machine. I don't think he's human. Foden couldn't play. He was not match fit, so he couldn't play. So I expect Foden to play in next week's game or in Friday's game against Arsenal. All in all, it was a great day to offer for City. Wolves did give them a little bit of run for their money, but not really anything to write home about. I think the fact that the new Wolves manager had to make a triple change at halftime is a lot. He wasn't happy with his squad at the beginning of the game. So yeah, we'll still need. They're signing a lot of players. I see now, so they still need to now. I think he needs to figure out the new manager who is going to be his best fit. Does he start Jimenez? Does he start Raiola? I know Guedes is on loan. He went to another club, so they lost some of their attacking as well. So I think he's strengthening up his midfield, but in front, I think there's still firepower lacking, and they don't have that killer instinct. I've been saying it from the start. So Wolves are kind of like they teetering near the bottom again, and it's worrisome. So, but it's City. So I mean, if you lose against City, it's not really, it's not a shocker. But I mean, you can't go. It's like they conceded 6 goals against City now, so it's bad in a way if you look at it that way.
Yeah, Andreas.
Yeah, I think this is where we really understand Haaland for real, because we all know how great he was and all of that. But reality is that we were starting to question, or I was at least starting to question all of this with him not really performing after the World Cup. And I was starting a little bit to think about, was this just him having a great a great first half of the season, and now losing that momentum. But this match showed that absolutely not. He still got it, and that there's no doubt about that. And yeah, as Warren said, it's so scary to think about that last season he would have won golden boot with halfway through the season with all of this. It's so crazy. It really is. So yeah, Haaland is just really, really good, and I needed to see this. I needed to see him getting back and score so many goals. So yeah, really, really good. I think what you said with City is very, very interesting, and I want to use more time on that on a different episode. But I think it is a really interesting conversation about if Haaland and City really is the perfect match, because I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about how great they are for each other. But you can also look at it the other way and say, okay, if City didn't have Haaland, who would have scored these 3 goals in that match? So there's also that, but personally, I feel like they would have scored them without him. But that's, you can easily say that now that he is there and scoring them. So
hindsight is 2020.
Yeah, but I do think that's an interesting conversation, and I feel like there's other teams where I feel like he fits better. But that's a topic for another day. But
we'll talk about it on Friday.
Yeah, yeah, we're going to talk about so much on Friday. But yeah, that's something I want to talk about in the future. But for now, we're sticking to this match. And yeah, City is winning, and City are showing that they are still fighting to win all of this. And if I'm not mistaken, they have not faced Arsenal yet in Premier League. So still
They've
2 games.
Once, I think, already this season.
No,
I
they have
don't
not.
think so. I don't think
That's
so.
not.
So let's say
that game got postponed.
Yeah. So
Okay.
let's say City goes out and win those 2 games. It's going to look very different. I'm not saying they're going to do that. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that so little can change it all. But that's also a topic for another day. I'm trying to stick to this match now. And yeah, City won. Great for them. As Warren said, it's against Wolves. Is it really surprising? No, not really, but still good. And I think Wolves have shown that they actually can do something against the smaller teams, and I think that's where they need to get their wins. They won against West Ham, they won against Everton, draw with Villa. That's pretty impressive. And then they lost to City here and lost to United. So I think it's with these big games, it's just really clear that Wolves are not really in the competition against the big teams. But when it comes to the smaller teams, that's where they need to go out and win their matches. So yeah, great for City and Wolves. I don't know if they will survive, but I know if they want to survive, they need to win against the smaller teams for sure, because they don't stand a chance against the bigger teams. So yeah.
I think Wolves only had one shot on target, which is a big problem for them.
Yeah.
They just can't score. They just don't have the attacking prowess to challenge teams, which is a worry for them. The one I do find there's a few holes in the City team. There's no clear left back in that team without Cancelo. Like they played a back four of Rico Lewis, John Stones, Akanji, and Laporte. So that's 3 centre backs and a right back. They're forcing guys out of position to play left back. Because obviously they don't trust Cancelo anymore for whatever reason. Jack Grealish is there. Bernardo Silva didn't start. Phil Foden's obviously injured. But it's not great. There is still holes in that City team, and I think there is issues there. But I feel like it's being married. It's being married because of Haaland and his goals. I feel like you kind of just ignore that as such.
Yeah, and yeah.
Sorry, Andres, you want to say?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you're very spot on with that. And looking at the stats, City has scored 10 goals in their last 5 games in Premier League. So they are scoring the goals, and that's clearly where Haaland and all of those are really doing a great job. Defensively, they have conceded 5 in the last 5 games. So it's not terrible, but it's far from great either. We just talked about Newcastle. They have conceded 0 in the last 5. So yeah, I really think that there are some troubles in City's defense, and I completely agree with you. And I think the reason for that, honestly, is that Pep's style of playing is more focused about the offensive part of it. So I feel like they kind of are overseeing the need for having a solid defensive troop. Also, if you look at all the great rosters on the bench, a lot of the key stars that we talk about on the bench, that is offensive players. It's not really the defensive players. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Harry, and I feel like there's a lot of focus on City's offensive part, and it is going great there, absolutely no doubt. But I think they are not quite taking the defensive as serious as they should.
Yeah.
And I think that can be a problem for them.
Absolutely.
Or if it isn't already, to be honest.
Absolutely. And against bigger teams, I think they will be punished.
Agreed.
This was a surprising game result. I think, given the form Brentford are in, I think you would have expected Brentford to go and absolutely annihilate them, but they didn't. Leeds actually looked like, from the stats that they had, they dominated this game. 59% possession, 5 shots on target. Brentford didn't even have a shot on target, which is worrying for them. Warren, where did it all go wrong for Brentford?
I think it was an off day. It was a bad day at the office for Brentford. I think they've been on a little bit of a run, and this was the one game that caught up with them now, where they were like, stopped in their tracks and be like, okay, take a breath, calm down. And Leeds is tough, and especially at home. They're tough to play against. They beat Liverpool. They beat Chelsea. Like I said, they used to teams of these that has that attack as well. So I'm not surprised that Leeds gave them a game, but I could expect the 0-0 scoreline. But again, I mean, it could have been worse. But I think just Brentford had a bad day. They've been on since December. They've been on such a good run of games, and they did well. Leeds has been great as well. They haven't lost a lot of their games, and they're still in the FA Cup as well. So I think that it was just a bad day at the office, and Leeds couldn't capitalize on it, even though they dominated. I think that was a case where Leeds didn't have that. They couldn't get it over the line. Had they been able to do that, they would have got a huge victory against Brentford. So I think at the end of the day, both teams should be happy with the point. But I think Brentford it was an off day because even Ivan Toney got a yellow. So, I mean, I think it was just a scrappy match. And I don't think any team could get anything out of it except the 1 point.
Yeah. Andreas?
Yeah, I completely agree. This is just an off day. Again, looking at stats, Brentford scored 9 goals in the last 5 So they are doing really, really well there. This is the first game out of those 5 that they have not scored. So doing really, really well lately in Premier League. So I'm not really worried for them. And even with that, they did not concede any goals. So I think that also shows that defensively it's working pretty well for them. And yeah, I'm not really worried for Brentford yet. It can happen in the future, but for right now, I feel like they are pretty solid. And Leeds, I have said it before, it's the most inconsistent team in Premier League. When they have a good day, they can do crazy stuff, and this was a fine whistle for them. They went out, got a draw with a very, very good Brentford team. And they also need this. So I feel like Brentford, of course, will go out and do their very best, no doubt about that. But Leeds need this more. Just lost to Villa, got a draw with West Ham. They need these wins to survive. They are 15th right now in the table, so they really need this. And I think that's the hunger that they need. They need to go out with every game and do their absolute best. So yeah, Leeds did a fine job. But yeah, Brentford is solid, and I'm not really worried for them. Again, an off day. I feel like Brentford at their best is better than Leeds. But yeah, a little bit of an off day, and still really, really great that you are able to get a clean sheet, even with an off day. So yeah.
And then the final game was an absolute cracker on Sunday afternoon between Arsenal and United. It was just one hell of a game. Worrying for United is that they conceded 2 late goals in the week, one against Palace, one against Arsenal. 90th minute against Arsenal and Nketiah, and one during the week, which was like 88, 89 minutes. It's a little bit worrying that they kind of switch off late on. But United did actually hold their own for large periods. I feel like the winner was coming from Arsenal. They were kind of bombarding United for about 20 minutes there towards the end. An absolute worldie, though, from Marcus Rashford to open the scoring, to level the scoring even. I think Lisandro Martinez gave them the lead from a corner. Poor defending from Arsenal, really, to say the least. But it was an absolute cracker of a game. And one, I think, that really kind of cements Arsenal now as title favourites. Arsenal are actually up to 50 points at the halfway stage, so they could actually, if they carry on like this, get up to 100 points, which is crazy. Like, it's a really good Arsenal side to watch. You just, like, it just feels like they are a really complete side at the moment. They, it doesn't seem like they have any kind of weaknesses at all. Andreas?
Yeah, Arsenal, for me, this was
sorry, Marcus Rashford did open the scoring. Martinez got the level.
Okay. Yeah, this is for me Arsenal as the best team on the pitch. Not anything against United, they're doing great as well. But Arsenal is for me, between those two, the best team on the pitch. United, on the other hand, though, I feel like has the most how can you say it, warrior feeling to them. Like they go out there every time and just go crazy and do whatever they can to survive. And we have talked about that before, that they are so good at being able to be behind and then just go like, this can't happen, and then they score goals. They did against Chelsea sadly. So yeah, that is what United is really, really good at. So for me, this was the great team United against the great team on the pitch, Arsenal. And yeah, Arsenal is just at the end of the day better than United right now, and Arsenal is probably better than.
I don't think there's that much in it, though. Really,
you don't think Arsenal is better on the pitch?
They are better, but I don't think there's that much in it, and I think the results showed that.
Yeah, true.
I don't think there's miles difference.
No, but we are talking 11 points on the table. Yeah. So there's a difference. But I get what you're saying.
United are the only side to beat Arsenal this season. so far. Just saying.
United, yeah, that's true. United is the only team to beat Arsenal.
It was very close, 3-2. It's not like I don't think there is world of difference.
But they didn't do it this time, and now
Yeah.
Arsenal is ahead 11 points. Keep in mind, Arsenal has played one game. What's the word? Less than the other teams.
I think also the United's slow start at the start kind of was a hindrance, whereas Arsenal kind of got off to a flyer. Whereas I feel like United had a slow start, losing to Brentford and losing a couple of games there at the start.
Yeah, there's a lot of excuses. Like I get it, and United is a good team. There's no doubt about that. And I think
they've come back really strongly, and I think right now there is very little between them.
So you think that right now Arsenal and United is pretty close to each other? You feel like Arsenal being so much ahead is because United had a bad start.
Yeah, and I feel like if United hadn't had that bad start, they would be a lot closer.
Okay, so if the games were played today, United would be a lot closer.
Yeah, I feel like they would be.
Interesting.
Just a personal. I mean.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. I get it, and I get it, and
I think United have started to find their groove, and they've got a formation. They've got something that works, and I feel like maybe if Casemiro was available, this game could have been a little bit different.
I agree with that, but I don't think it would be enough. Like I get what you're saying, but for me personally, Arsenal just has a level more than United do, and that is for me what I saw. United did great, but at the end of the day, Arsenal has this level they can switch up, and then they can score the goals. And I don't feel like United has that, and I don't think that's United being bad or anything. I just feel like it's Arsenal becoming City 2.0 and playing like City has been playing for a while now. So yeah, I get what you're saying, but personally, I feel like Arsenal is not many levels ahead, but I feel like Arsenal is ahead of the other teams right now. I don't know if it will continue though, but for right now, I feel like what we see from Arsenal every time they play, that's a level that no other team is on right now. Can United get there? Possibly. Can City get there? Possibly. Newcastle. There's a lot of possibilities in where the teams can go, but I feel like Arsenal right now is on a level that the other teams are not close to right now. But I do agree that the result shows that they are not that far away. But it's the same with Chelsea City. I would still say City is levels ahead of us, even though I hate to admit it. But they only beat us with one goal. So the single matches does not always show the exact picture. But I get what you're saying, and United showed to be a great team. Arsenal on the pitch, I just feel like they are unstoppable at the moment.
Yeah, and I think United's problems, I feel like, are up front. They don't have a striker, and I don't think I think Weghorst hasn't really settled in yet. Martial hasn't necessarily been great. And I feel like Anthony hasn't necessarily done well, so I feel like they're missing something on that other side as well. I would have liked to have seen Garnacho start. I feel like United were overrun a little bit in midfield as well. But I feel like the most danger was kind of down the wings. I feel like Saka was very dangerous, and I think Wan-Bissaka struggled to contain him. Unlike the way he did Mahrez last week. But Saka is just class at the moment, isn't he, Warren?
Yeah, I think Saka is one of Arsenal's Arsenals. If you get what I mean. He's the Arsenal in the Arsenal. I think he's, oh my God, goal scoring machine. Saka, Martinelli to the side, and you've got Odegaard in the middle with Nketiah as a bridge. I mean, I hate to say it, but I actually agree with Andreas on this one. And again, I'm not taking anything away from United. I think they played great. So yes, all season long I've been praising United for the way that they've got it from the first two games and started, like they rebirth into from 20th place at the beginning. Look where they are now. So the results is there. You can see it clearly on the table where they are now and where they started. However, in this game, yes, United United beat Arsenal at Old Trafford, and I get it because I've been saying that Old Trafford United is fire. Like you don't want to go there. It's like a fortress. You don't want to go there. But at the Emirates, it's the same story. You don't want to go to the Emirates because Arsenal at home is dangerous, and even away from home, they still dangerous. And for me, on the day of the game, I watched the entire game, and this game, Arsenal deserved the win just on the way that they played. I'm not saying United didn't give them a game, didn't play against them, didn't it wasn't total. I'm not saying anything like that. So I'm not taking anything away from the 2 goals that were scored, the defense, the midfield, or the attack. I'm just saying overall, Arsenal not dominated, but they had more of an edge in defense, they had more of an edge in the midfield, they had more of an edge in the attack, and it showed in the scoreline. For me, Arsenal deserved that win. They controlled majority of the game. I feel like attack wise, like there was a certain period where United couldn't even get out of the box because the attacks just came and came and came, and you could clearly see that third goal was going to come, and it was going to come from Arsenal. So great, United gave the team at the top of the log a run for their money, serious run for their money, and they deserve props for that. But at the end of the day, Arteta is doing something. I don't know what Houdini magic is doing on the pitch when they are training. What he put in the Kool-Aid this season, but they are just a well-oiled machine. Odegaard, Martinelli, you've got Saka, you've got Xhaka, you've got Partey in the middle. That's just, I think without those two in the middle as well, that team, and then the defense, Gabriel, Saliba. I mean, Ramsdale, the amount of saves that he also did, it's like, I just feel like Rams, Dahlia also, but there was certain mistakes that he made in goal that could have prevented this. So that's maybe something that United needs to look at. And it's learning lessons for me. It's life lessons in the game of football, as you have to take it from this match. United is not going to win every match, but they've done great. Last couple of matches, they've been banging in the wins. And I just feel like, with the draw with Palace and the loss at Arsenal, they shouldn't feel ashamed that they lost to Arsenal because Arsenal is a great team. They're like the city, like Andrea said, they're the city of the season, of this season. So if you lose to Arsenal, you should actually, and you get a result like this, I mean, I wouldn't cry about it. I would think my team did well. So, but I do feel at the end of the day, Arsenal got the job done and they deserved it. And they just pushed themselves further ahead. But I do want to say, I said it last week that this was going to be the match to determine whether Arsenal is going to win the league. But seeing that City came back in the Wolves game and the Spurs game, I think when Arsenal goes in February to the Etihad, and if they beat City there, they win the league.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I feel I'm just trying to think, like looking at the goals that were scored. I don't think there was. I think both defenses were really good. If you think about it, you had 2 absolute worldies from Rashford and Saka. Martinez's header should have been dealt with better by the Arsenal defense. I think there wasn't really much in it, but Arsenal just looked like a really solid team. You don't really see any weaknesses anywhere. Ramsdale in goal is solid. The back 4 is solid. You have Zinchenko, you have Ben White, Tomiyasu came on at half time, and you wouldn't have noticed the difference. Gabriel and Saliba, solid. No. Midfield, Partey, Odegaard, Xhaka, brilliant. What a unit. And then up front, Martinelli, Saka, and Nketiah. Like Nketiah has turned out to be a real goals threat now. Like Jesus is not going to get back into that team.
He's got more goals than Jesus. I said it in the chat. He's got more goals than you, and he's played less games.
It's pretty crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think for me, this is in no way these teams being bad defensively. Not at all. At all. This is just 2 amazingly offensively teams. So for me, this isn't at all about neither of the teams being bad when it comes to the defense. The opponents are just really, really good at scoring goals, and that is for me what this game is. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think that it was interesting. I think I wonder how much difference Casemiro would have made. I feel like he might have added a little bit more depth for United in attack, especially.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, of course.
I just want to say something, and I don't want to make it a long discussion because I'm really pressed for time. I just think that if I was Ten Hag, I would have started Fred over McTominay. That's the difference I would have made in the team. I think
I
Fred
agree
is
with
more of a attacker in the midfield than McTominay. He's more of a risk for me, a liability. I wouldn't start him if I was his manager. Like, I'm just being honest. I feel like I thought personally Fred was going to start. When I saw Casemiro was not playing, I thought Fred was starting. So when I saw McTominay, I was like, maybe it's a pace thing. Maybe it's I don't know why he went with McTominay over Fred, but I don't want to make it a big decision. Let's discuss it. I just, my opinion was I would have started Fred over McTominay in the midfield with Eriksen.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Bruno.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. But I personally, I don't think neither of them are good enough. Maybe Fred is good enough as a sub, but I don't think McTominay is good enough to be a United player. Like it's a United team that is right now fighting to be up there.
If it's between Pastor Fred and McTominay, you go with Pastor Fred.
Yeah,
that's what. But I don't want to make it a big debate. I just felt like when I looked at the lineup of United, I would have gone with Fred over McTominay.
It's a good conversation.
That's the one change I would have made when I looked at the Arsenal's lineup. I would have left the same, just like that.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think it would have been interesting to kind of see how Casemiro would have made a difference. I think he would have definitely kind of held Odegaard off a lot, and I think it would have stopped him, which would have kind of stopped a lot. I think he controls a lot of what Arsenal do, so it would have been interesting to kind of see how he would have made a difference. But anyway, sorry, Andreas.
And quickly with that, I want to ask you something, Harry. And it's not to be rude against United, because I think they are starting to become a strong team. But I wonder, not the midfield, because the midfield, I've said that before, I feel like it's one of the strongest midfields in the world right now. But looking at defensively, or the defense and the attackers, do you feel like most of these players will be allowed to play if Ferguson were there? Because personally, even also with the new signing, I don't remember his name, Weghorst or something. I think it's, just with that signing, I remember a lot of people joked a little bit about it. I saw someone say something about imagine walking down to go into the pitch and see this match, and think about all the legends that has been there just to go in and see Weghorst play a match. And it's made as a joke, but I kind of get it that like United is probably the biggest club in English football, at least very much up there, at least in the modern day era with Ferguson. So I wonder, like, not to say the players are bad or anything, but do you feel like Ferguson would allow a lot of these players to play, attacking wise and defensive wise? Not midfield. Again, midfield is amazing, but besides that. Because personally, I kind of feel like not everyone, far from everyone, but a little too many of them are mediocre to play at United level. Are we talking Spurs, for example, is a different story, but United level and where they want to go, I kind of feel like not all the players are strong enough for that level. But I want to hear your
defensive wise, I think we're actually really strong. I think if you look at it with 2 World Cup winners at centre back, Varane and Martinez, any team would bite their hand off to have that. Luke Shaw at left back is class, and he has been for a little this season. I know he's had poor seasons before, but this season he's become really good. We are missing Dalot at right back, and if he was there, I think it'd be better. Wan-Bissaka hasn't done too badly. I feel like he saved the game the other day against Crystal Palace. Attacking wise, I feel like we are a little bit weaker. And I think that's the one area that we are struggling in. Weghorst isn't really doing a whole lot. Martial is injured, but isn't really class. Isn't really good enough. Rashford is obviously class, but Anthony as well isn't great. And I feel like that's the one area we do need to strengthen in the summer. If we can get Harry Kane in as the striker, if we can get in a decent striker, I think we'll be a really good side. And I feel like we just need someone on that other side. I would have liked to have seen Garnacho start over Anthony personally. Because I feel like he could have done a little bit more. He has that X factor about him, and I feel like he would have been interesting to kind of see. Jadon Sancho when he gets back into good. Hopefully he'll figure out some good form, because if he's on it, if he can get back to his best, then he can be a real threat for United. So I think the big problem right now, I think, is the striker.
Go on.
I think that's the missing piece, I think.
What if I agree with you, but what if we remove one of those centre backs? Like if we just remove one of them and say we need to play the bench, do you feel like the bench when it comes to centre backs are strong enough?
Luke Shaw has filled in at centre back recently and done really well.
Yeah, but when you play him
last year at left back, who has done fairly well. Like Luke Shaw played at centre back against City and stopped Haaland.
Mm-hmm. But then
had Haaland in his pocket last week.
If you play him as centre back, then you need someone else to play his position, his normal position.
Malacia. Terrell Malacia played left back and has done pretty well when he's been asked to play.
And you think he's strong enough to start?
I haven't seen enough of him, to be honest, to be able to make a proper assessment. But every time he started, he's done well, and he did stop Grealish pretty much. Apart from the goal, he did quite well, I feel. Yeah. Anyway, we will move on because.
But it's a good conversation to have.
Of course, absolutely.
But yeah.
A quick preview of the games midweek: Newcastle versus Southampton, United versus Forest. The teams that are in for Newcastle against Southampton. Newcastle have gone with Nick Pope in goal, Trippier, Shaw, Boatman, and Dan Burn are the defence. And in midfield, it's Guimaraes, Sean Longstaff, Joe Willock, Miguel Almiron, Joe Linton, and Callum Wilson. Southampton have gone Gavin Bazunu in goal, back four of Kyle Walker-Peters, Lianco, Kaleta Karen, Salisu, and midfield it is Diallo, Alcaraz, James Ward-Prowse, with Musa Gineppo, Orsic, and Mara. Should be a pretty clear win here for Newcastle, you would imagine, guys.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward, Warren.
Yeah, I think Newcastle is winning this one unless Southampton drag some gummy berry juice and pull a win like they did with City. And the fact that Newcastle isn't getting a lot of goals in, but it's hard to score against them, so I don't see them losing. And then, so I think Newcastle is winning this one.
Yeah. Andreas?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who Newcastle is playing next time in Premier League. West Ham, is that right?
There's no game this weekend.
No, but next time. Yeah,
go away, Abu.
I will say Newcastle is winning.
There's no Premier League this weekend, though. It's FA Cup weekend.
True, but it's still in.
They have a weekend off.
There's no reason to, if they were going out to play against, let's say, City, there's no reason to go out and risk your players in this match, even though
they're not playing on the weekend.
No,
so
but true. But let's say they were going out to face City next time, right? Let's say they then go out and place Trippier in this match, and then Trippier gets injured. There's no reason to do that, even though it's 2 weeks from now. There's no reason to risk your players if the next match you have is a big match, even though it's.
I think there is. I think they should play their best team because a
You
chance
think so?
to win a trophy. They have a very,
Yeah.
very good chance at trophy.
True, but the big question is the big question is what's most important, Champions League or winning a minor tournament?
I think winning a trophy is more important to them.
You think so? Than getting to Champions League spots?
I do. I feel like if I was Newcastle, that would be what I think. They're both on the same level, but I feel like winning a trophy is big.
I would disagree with that, but there's good reasons for both. But yeah, Newcastle, I would say, is winning this, but I don't think we should rule Southampton out. I feel like they know that they will probably get relegated, or at least would be very close to that. So I think this really matters to them. And yeah, going down with a trophy like this will be great for Southampton. But yeah, Newcastle is my pick to win. Yeah.
And then United should beat Forest easily enough as well.
Yeah, they should. But again, it's kind of the same story. Forest is probably not getting relegated, but they're still fighting for it, and for them winning this will be huge for them. So I think it depends on how much will Southampton and Forest go for this. But yeah, United and Newcastle should be favorites. Yeah.
I'm not even going to entertain that. I'm not even going to entertain that. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to even entertain that. I'm just not going to entertain that from Abu because Warren.
Yeah, United is winning, and I foresee I think in the second tie that is next week they're gonna win again. It's the same thing, and then we'll see a final between Newcastle versus United, and I think that's gonna be the one to watch.
Yeah,
absolutely. Forest have struggled to get the big teams this season. Yeah, they've kind of beaten lower league teams, but I can't see them really doing a whole lot against United, to be honest. Quickly, we will move into our predictions game. Let me just get up the predictions from last week.
Oh yes, let's do this.
Mr. 100% record for the week. Okay, so
finally got something right.
The predictions from last week, from the weekend, were Richard said Brighton clean sheet for 1 point and Liverpool to win for 3 points, and he flopped. Cabelli got absolute 0 points, zilch this week. Andreas got 0 points as well for saying Chelsea to beat Liverpool for 3 points and United to beat Arsenal for 3 points.
You failed me, Harry. You failed me. You had one job.
To be fair, I got 0 points as well. United and Arsenal to draw for 3 points and Newcastle to beat Palace for 1 point. Neither happened. So yeah, I got 0 points there too. Warren's the only one who got points, and he got all 4 points for his things. He got Aston Villa to beat Southampton for 3 points, and City to win with Haaland getting a goal or assist for 1 point, and he got all 4 points there. So the leaderboard currently stands at myself on 9, Warren on 7, Richard on 3, Andreas Nabu on 1 each.
That's embarrassing, being on the same level as Arbo.
Honestly, Abu's had 1 predictions. Yeah. You've had them all. You had all month of Andreas. Like,
Harry, why are you like that? I thought we were friends. Why do you need to be rude?
Come on then, Andreas. Go first with your predictions.
Newcastle versus Southampton and United versus Forest.
Are we really doing predictions? It's only 2 games.
Why not?
Don't question it, Warren. Just do it.
I really don't think anybody's gonna get 3 points.
True. That's a good point.
Unless you go wrong and say Southampton will beat Newcastle, I don't see it happening.
It's too bold. It's not too bold. It's too
simple.
boring.
I'm gonna say United wins Forest, Newcastle wins Southampton, so I get guaranteed 2 points. That's just how I'm gonna go. Done. I'm not gonna say anything about assists and who's gonna score and the scoreline. It's gonna be a win, and if I get the 2 points, I get it. If I don't, it doesn't do anything because Friday is the last one, and then the month is over. So I'm safe in the case, so I'm okay.
Fair enough. Andreas?
Yeah, the question is, who do I trust most, Newcastle or United? Because I'm going to get 1 point and then try and find someone that's crazy, just in case. I think I trust Newcastle more in this matchup. Forest is better than Southampton. So yeah, Newcastle is winning. Newcastle is winning, and Eriksen is going to make an assist, or make an assist or score.
Who?
Eriksen.
Eriksen, okay.
You better hope he plays.
I better hope that I get 3 points for it.
Yeah, no, I think that's 3 points, to be fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will go United to beat Forest. And I will go. That will be 1 point since Warren's on with one. I will go with. I'm going to go with Marcus again. Marcus goal or assist. I was actually close. If Marcus wasn't, if United weren't playing Arsenal this week, I was actually going to captain Rashford ahead of Haaland in fantasy. If United weren't playing Arsenal, so. But yeah, that is it from us. Thank you very much to everybody for watching. If you watched, thank you very much. We will be back on Friday with the review of these couple of games. We'll be talking a little bit about Everton, and we will also see what is what ahead of the weekend's FA Cup games. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you all on Friday. Stay safe.